Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you all this morning. But before we jump into that, please do make sure to smash a like on the video. And if this is your first time watching the show, please do subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and get involved. On the show this morning, we're going to give you a comprehensive injury update on 8 players. We've got some dates that are being reported this morning on when players are expected to be back, what games that will be. So we'll go through all of that. I know a lot of you have been asking about these injuries. So yeah, really happy to be able to bring you this news this morning. 8 players, obviously some key names, Luke Shaw, Kobe Mainoo, Casemiro, loads of others as well. So we'll go through all of that with you. We'll also be talking a bit about the director of football situation at Manchester United and there potentially being an issue with Paul Mitchell. We'll talk about that, of course, and we will also talk about Manchester United exploring a new right back in the January transfer window, which, you know what, I actually agree with. We will, of course, ask for you guys' opinions on that. So get involved in the comment section, get involved in the live chat, and let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. So let's start off with this right back story then. First of all, I just want to say before we go into the story that I definitely think a new right back is needed. I like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I like Diogo Dalot, but I think we do need to strengthen in that position. I think we've seen that Diogo Dalot can play over at left back. He played against Sheffield United at left back, didn't he? We know that he can play at left back as well. I think that going forward, Luke Shaw should be our first choice left back. I think Diogo Dalot should be the backup left back. I would loan out Malacia, to be honest. And then I think at right back, you have Wan-Bissaka plus a new right back, because I think we desperately need to strengthen those areas, especially with all of these injuries. So let's go into the story and let's break down a couple of the names that are being suggested in this position. So I want you guys to let me know as well, do you think a right back is an important position? I know some of you really, really agree. Some of you don't agree. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How important do you think is a new right back? And let me know who your preferred option is. So this story coming out this morning is coming from a couple of journalists in the UK, as well as a couple of journalists over in Turkey. And apparently Manchester United have sent scouts to watch Galatasaray right back Sasha Boye. Obviously, he played against us in the defeat a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? To obviously to Galatasaray at home at Old Trafford. I'll be honest, I didn't really think that much of him. I wasn't like, oh my God, we need to sign this player. He's absolutely unbelievable. He looked decent, 23 years of age, very fast, very strong, good defensively. I would say he's an upgrade on Malacia, definitely. And I would probably say he's an upgrade on Diogo Dalot, at least defensively. Definitely somebody who could be an important player in the future. He's already in the French international team. As I said, 23 years of age, very fast, very strong, and very good defensively. I think it would be an interesting option. I don't think it would be my first choice option, but it's good to see that we are, scouting other markets than just like the top leagues. Other names that we're being linked to at the moment are people like Frimpong. I think Frimpong would be a quality addition. I don't think that neither Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Diogo Dalot are great going forward. I know Dalot scored that wonder goal against Sheffield United on the weekend. That was an incredible goal. But generally, I don't think Dalot's that great going forward, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka is definitely not that good going forward. Whereas someone like Jeremy Frimpong is like the perfect win back. You can easily play 3 centre-backs whilst in possession, like we did against Sheffield United. It could be that Amrabat drops into the defence to have, in the game against Sheffield United, it was Amrabat, Evans and Maguire as a back 3. And then you had Lindelof and Dalot kind of pushing into the midfield. Jeremy Frimpong would be able to do that perfectly. So I think he would be a great option. I would like to see Jeremy Frimpong at Manchester United. Obviously, he's still only 22 years of age, Dutch international. Would be available for somewhere around 30 to 40 million euros. So probably a little bit more expensive than the Galatasaray option. But I think he would be a really, really solid addition to the squad. I think he's a quality player and he's definitely somebody I like. The other name we've been linked to recently is Denzel Dumfries. He has just signed a new contract at Inter Milan though. So I don't know how realistic that is, to be honest. I don't know whether, Denzel Dumfries would come to Manchester United. He's just signed a new deal at... He's just signed a new deal at Inter as well, so how much money would that take for us to bring him to Manchester United? It would probably be a lot of money, I think. And you know what? He's 27 years of age. He's at his peak right now. We've just spent, £50 million on Onana. They're probably going to want something similar to that. He's just signed a new contract until 2025. And I think he's on the brink of even extending that further. So yeah, for me, I wouldn't go for Denzel Dumfries. I think he's I don't want to say he's past his best. He's in his prime right now, but if we didn't sign him until the next season, he'll be 28. He's probably got 2 or 3 years left in him at that point at the top level. Whereas you bring in someone like Frimpong, you bring in someone like what's he called, Sacha Bowie from Galatasaray. They're both 22, 23. They could be in Manchester United for the next 7 to 10 years easily. And I think those are the kind of players we need to be looking at. People for the future. We need to be building our team for the next generation, for the next decade. Sorry, not generation. For the next decade, 10 plus years. We need to be looking for the future, not for the present, because I think sometimes we spend a lot of money on people for the now. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Rasmus Højlund is someone for the future, isn't he? He's 20 years of age. He could be here until he's in his 30s. Whereas someone like Casemiro, we spend 70 million euros on him, and there's already people questioning whether he's past his best after one season. I mean, that's not very good business, is it? There's no resale value. Let's see what everyone's saying in the chat this morning. Let's have a look. Al says, read the Daily Mail article about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I will have a look. If you let me know what the exact wording is of the story, I'll type it in. Comeback King says, no to Potter, no way. Yeah, I was going to do a video about this yesterday, but I thought it was just a bit, to be honest, I thought it was a little bit toxic to be kind of focusing on this. So for anybody who is unaware, there's a journalist called Andy Dixon. I can't remember who he reports for. I feel like it's Alan Nixon, Andy Dixon. My brain's clearly not woken up this morning. Alan Nixon. Okay, so he wrote a story. Let me just check what he usually reports for. Okay, so he reports for The Sun. That kind of sums it up. So a journalist who reports for The Sun was running with the headline yesterday that apparently Graham Potter is now a possible candidate for the Manchester United job if Sir Jim Ratcliffe decides to sack Erik ten Hag. I would not back that whatsoever. Graham Potter, definitely not for me. He did a good job at Brighton, but I think a lot of managers do a good job at Brighton just because of how well ran Brighton is as a football club. I would not go anywhere near Graham Potter. I would rather keep Erik ten Hag under any circumstances. Even if we lost the next 5 games and someone said to me, you can swap Erik ten Hag for Graham Potter, I would not even do it at that point. No way. If it's someone like De Zerbi, someone like that, maybe you start having those conversations. If we lost like 5-10 games in a row and we're in a terrible run of form, yeah, maybe I'd entertain someone like De Zerbi. But for me, Graham Potter is a massive downgrade on Erik ten Hag. And I don't know where this story's coming from. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think that Graham Potter is an interesting option for Manchester United? I think it's a bit stupid, to be honest. Is it because he's English? I don't know. I know that there's this obsession in the English media around English players, English managers. They think Harry Maguire's, prime Vidic, don't they, at the moment? I said Harry Maguire had a good game against Sheffield United, but some of the stuff the press are saying after that game, they're literally they're not comparing him to Vidic, but the amount of hype that they're giving him after one good performance against a team with 1 point in 8 games, it's a bit embarrassing, to be honest. You're seeing all these stats pop up on Sky Sports where they're comparing Manchester United's win record with Harry Maguire versus without Harry Maguire. But what those stats don't actually show you is that Harry Maguire hasn't started a game against any of the top 10 sides as part of those stats. So he doesn't start against City, he doesn't start against Liverpool, even people like Aston Villa. He doesn't start against any of these teams. So it's not really a fair comparison to be like, Harry Maguire wins every game that he starts. I mean, he plays against Reading in the FA Cup, and he plays in the League Cup in the earlier rounds, and he plays against the teams at the bottom of the table. It's not really a good comparison for me, and I think that the English media, as always, are just overhyping it, which is the classic thing, isn't it? They're constantly overhyping. Let's have a look what people are saying. Barry White says Harry Potter would be better. Well, yeah, maybe. Scott says at this point, Erik ten Hag is out of his depth. I don't agree with you, to be honest, mate. I think that the issue at Manchester United is our playing squad is absolutely appalling. Look at the team who started against Sheffield United, and you really think that Erik ten Hag is going to get them playing? Do you think Pep Guardiola would get them playing fast-flowing, beautiful football? I don't think he would, because I don't think a lot of those players are even capable of it, to be honest. The thing you have to remember, right, with football is a game is, played. Everything starts from the back, right? When you've got a defence of Lindelof at left back, Lindelof wouldn't start for Man City. He wouldn't start for Arsenal. He wouldn't start for Tottenham. Like, do you think Lindelof would get in the team over Romero and Van der Van at Tottenham? He wouldn't. Do you think he'd get in the Man City team ahead of Ruben Dias? He wouldn't. Do you think he'd get in the Arsenal team ahead of Saliba and Gabriel? He wouldn't. So you've got a player who wouldn't get in any of the other probably top 6 or 7 teams, centre-back wise, playing at left-back. You've then got Johnny Evans, who again wouldn't get in any of the top 10 teams. You've got Harry Maguire, who I don't think would get in any of the top 10 teams. You've got Diogo Dalot, who wouldn't get in any of the top 10 teams. You move over to our midfield. McTominay, I don't think he'd get in, City's team. Well, he wouldn't, would he? Would McTominay get picked over Rodri? Would he get picked over Declan Rice? Definitely not. Would Amrabat get picked over Rodri, Declan Rice? Definitely not. And then you move forward to our attackers. Anthony, would he get picked over? No. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for Erik ten Hag, but I just think that the squad that we have at the moment, I think we all just need to come back down to earth a little bit. Our squad is poor. Like, look at that squad that started against Sheffield United. It is poor. You've got Rasmus Højlund, who, yes, I think will be special in the future. He's 20 years of age. He shouldn't be starting every game for Manchester United. You should have a world-class striker at Man United. There was always competition, wasn't there, at United over the years? You saw, obviously, in the Champions League final when we won the treble, you had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who was a quality striker, who would be on the bench for most of the games. He came on and ultimately won us that treble, didn't he? That's my point here. We don't have any competition. You've got Anthony Martial, who's hopeless on the bench. Like, I think we're a long, long way away from being in a position where squad for squad we can compete with teams like Man City and Arsenal, because I just don't think our team's good enough. Like, we've been dealt a massive issue with the injuries this season, which we will go into in a minute. But yeah, I think obviously it's completely fine for you to criticise Erik ten Hag. You can do what you like, but I just don't think any manager at this moment in time would be able to do better with that current squad than what he's got. Than what he's got. I mean, look at Man City's defence. They've got Gvardiol, Akanji and Kyle Walker as their 3 centre-backs. And then Rodri. Like, they've got a quality team. Let's see what else people are saying. Thomas says starting at the back is not working. Yes, I agree with you. Scott says he can't get the players actually playing. But, I mean, we've just gone through that, though. I mean, all of these players have limited capabilities, right? Johnny Evans in his mid-30s. Dalot. Does anybody really think Dalot's good enough to be starting for Manchester United? Like, genuinely? I don't, personally. Does anybody think Lindelof's good enough to start for Manchester United every week? I mean, it depends what your expectations are. If your expectations are to finish somewhere between 4th and 10th, I think Dalot and Lindelof and all of them are fine. But if you genuinely think that you want to win the league, you want to win Champions Leagues, do you really think that people like Lindelof and Dalot and McTominay are good enough? I don't personally. If you do, that's completely fine. And if you think all of the blame is on Erik ten Hag and that he's got this world-class squad at his disposal and it's a disgrace, that he's not winning us Champions Leagues with this squad, then that's completely up to you. That's completely fine. But put it this way, right? Imagine if Erik ten Hag got the job at Man City. I think they would be doing just as well, point for point, near enough as what Man City are doing this season. I genuinely believe that. If if Erik ten Hag had got the job there, I think he would be in just a strong position. He would. I mean, look at Man City's bench. I honestly think Man City's bench would probably beat us. Their bench against Brighton on the weekend was Jack Grealish, Ake, Ederson, Kovacic, Calvin Phillips, Mateus Nunes, Ruben Diaz. Who else do they have? Rico Lewis and Sergio Gomez. I genuinely reckon that their bench would have probably beaten our team on Saturday. Like, I genuinely do, and I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I think they have a better bench. I mean, Ruben Diaz is better than any of our centre backs. Jack Grealish is better than Anthony, arguably better than Rashford. Ake is better than any of our centre backs. Ederson's clearly better than Onana. Kovacic is better than Amrabat or McTominay. Calvin Phillips is probably better than Amrabat or McTominay. Mateus Nunes is better than McTominay. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like, I think it's easy to point all the fingers at the manager, but our squad is poor. It is. We don't have... I mean, of that team on Saturday, right, against Sheffield United, how many of them do you actually think are world-class players? Onana? Definitely not. Dalot isn't. Maguire isn't. Evans isn't. Lindelof isn't. McTominay isn't. Amrabat isn't. Anthony isn't. Bruno Fernandes, I would say, is a question mark. I would say he's close to being world class. Maybe not for Manchester United at the moment, but if you look at his stats, if you look at what he does at an international level, I would say he's at least going to be in that conversation. He's one of the best, at least on the international stage. He does very, very well. Rashford isn't world class and Højlund isn't world class. So out of our whole starting 11 on Saturday, I would say that one of them is maybe world class, maybe, and that's Bruno. And do you see where I'm going with this? So I don't know how we move forward with that. Let's have a look what people are saying in the chat. Everybody who's just joined, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, by the way. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here, but I have no issue with doing that on these live shows. That's all good. Max says, at the moment, no managers will suit Manchester United. Erik ten Hag is not the problem. This club has a lot more issues from the media. Yeah, there's so many more issues. Mumra says, Onana seems to have found his mojo back a bit. Still a long way to go. Yeah. I think he did do well against Sheffield United, Onana. He was decent. Somebody says, bro said Grealish is better than Rashford. I mean, he probably is, isn't he? Do you not think? Like, genuinely? Like, Grealish is decent. He offers more from a team perspective than Rashford does. Yes, Rashford's got more skills. He's faster. But the thing that you have to look at, right, in football is overall how they complement a team. Okay? Rashford on paper is probably better than Jack Grealish, right? On paper. Yes, he's more skillful. Yes, he's faster. Yeah? But from a team's perspective, who's a better team player? Who offers more? I would say Grealish does, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, you know, even last season when Rashford was in banging form, he would do nothing for probably 85% of the game, and then he'd score a goal, and then the rest of the time he would do nothing. He would give the ball away. He wouldn't track back, you know? And it kind of did stat pad his generally poor performances, let's be honest. Yes, he got 30 goals in all competitions, but he didn't offer anything else. Joe says, why are we regressing though? Is it the injuries? Well, actually, Joe, I've got an interesting point here. And I think this is going to blow some of your minds this morning, okay? So Joe in the chat this morning has raised a point, which I'm sure a lot of you in the chat are saying, right? Why are we regressing? We're going backwards. We're worse than we were last season. After the game against Sheffield United, right, I did a bit of research myself because I was thinking the same thing. I thought, we're going backwards. We're in a worse place than what we were last season. You know, what's going on? Type it on Google, right, after this show, Manchester United after 9 games in the 2022-23 season, okay? This time this year, okay, we were 1 point less than what we were now. So technically, if you want to be, you know, we're doing worse, we're actually doing better this season by points than we were at this point last season. This time last season, we had 14 points. This season, we've got 15. So we're actually in a better position than we were last season. And when you consider we've played Arsenal, Tottenham, Brighton, we've played some difficult games. Whereas last year, I don't think we played Brighton the first game of the season, but we played some other easier games last year. We got beaten 4-0 by Brentford. So if you're actually comparing it with a direct result of last season, we are in a better points position right now than we were last season. So let me know what you guys think about that. Has that changed your thinking? Yeah, let me just get up the table for you quickly because I think it is an interesting Premier League table after 9 games. Okay, here we go. Right, so I've got it right up for you here now. So after 9 games last season, we were in 9th place and we were on 14 points. This season, we are in 8th place and we've got 15 points. So we've got 1 point more and we're 1 position higher than we were at this point last season. So I don't know. Make of that what you will. I'm not by any means saying that, you know, Erik ten Hag is playing this beautiful football and we're doing incredible. But when you consider all of our injuries, right? At the moment, we've got 8 first-team players out. And at the moment, we're 1 point better off than we were last season. And last season, we finished 3rd. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I don't. I think it's, you know, obviously we've got a long, long way to go. But I think it can only get better. Yeah, we're in 8th position. And this point last season, we were in 9th. The one thing just to say as well, though, which is quite mad, right? Last season, 5th place was only on 14 points, okay? Whereas this season, 5th place is on 19 points. So the competition is a lot harder this season. And I said that at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the season, I said that, you know, it's going to be much more difficult to get top 4 this year because I think it's going to be a lot more competitive. There's literally 2 points between 1st and 5th place at the moment. Whereas last year, Arsenal were on 24 points at this point last season, right? And Liverpool were on 14 points. There was 10 points between 5th and 1st at this stage of the season last year, whereas this season, there's only 2 points between 5th and 1st. So the competition is a lot more difficult, and I think we all knew that was going to happen. Colin says the big problem is the expectation has changed. Yeah, that's true. Somebody says Erik ten Hag's transfers are bad because he's not getting the players he needs except for a few, but mostly 3rd and 4th choices. Kane, Kim Min-jae, Osimhen, Gakpo needed, ready to join but can't. Not Erik ten Hag's fault. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's clear to see that out of all the players we've signed since Erik ten Hag's come in, I would say that Lisandro Martinez was first choice. I would say that Onana was first choice. And I honestly reckon the rest of them were like third or fourth choices. I genuinely do. I don't think Rasmus Højlund was first choice. And if he was first choice as a backup. I don't think that Casemiro was first choice. I would be very surprised if he was. He wanted Frankie de Jong, didn't he, last season? We knew that. I mean, who else? Anthony. We know that he wanted Gakpo, and then we went for Anthony instead. You know, there's all of these different ones. But let's move on with the rest of the show, though. I haven't actually really covered any of the things I was planning on talking about, but it is what it is. So let's talk about the injury news then, because we have got a comprehensive list of 8 players and also when they will be returning from injury. So let's get into that together this morning. Please do make sure to smash a like and subscribe bottom right-hand corner if you haven't already. We're on the road to 21,000 subscribers, so please go and do that if you haven't already. We're getting closer, so yeah, please go and do that. It doesn't cost any money. Get involved. Get involved. Subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so let's go through the injuries, and I'll do it in the order of who's going to be back available the soonest. So first of all, Kobbie Mainoo is expected to be available for the game against Copenhagen tomorrow. So that's a massive positive. Sergio Reguilón is also expected to be available for the game tomorrow. So that's really positive. We should have Kobbie Mainoo and Reguilón available tomorrow. So hopefully we see Reguilón at left back, and hopefully we see Kobbie Mainoo getting some minutes, at least in the second half. Next up, we've got Casemiro, who's expected to be back in time for the Manchester derby on Sunday. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is expected to be back in November. Luke Shaw is expected to be back for the Everton game, which is on the 26th of November. So we should have both of our first choice right back and left back by the end of November. So within a month from now, we'll have Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka back, which will be massive. Malacia is expected back in December. I mean, obviously I want all of our players fit, but I don't think Malacia is going to make much difference for me personally. Lisandro Martinez is expected back in January, and Amad Diallo is currently an unknown. He had to undergo a knee surgery, which is a bit of a shame, really. But yeah, I don't know what's happened with Malacia. He's been injured for so long. Bit strange. But there you go. Those are the 8 injury updates for you guys, brought to you this morning. Let me know how important you think it's going to be. I think, our defence is what needs sorting. Once we have Luke Shaw at left back, Wan-Bissaka at right back, and then probably it will be Harry Maguire and Varane as our centre-back partnerships, I think we'll see a massive, massive improvement in that team playing out from the back. They look shaky at the moment. They look like they don't know what they're doing. They look like players who haven't played football together, because they haven't. I mean, when was the last time, right, that you saw a back four at Manchester United of Lindelof at left back, Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans and Dalot? I don't think we've ever seen that in our history, have we? That kind of sums it up for me. I mean, even Maguire and Johnny Evans have only played a couple of games together at centre-back, so let alone Lindelof at left back and all the rest of it. Those are your 8 injury updates. Really happy with that. And let's talk a little bit about the director of football quickly before we wrap up the show. So in relation to the director of football, there's a story coming out today from a couple of different outlets reporting that apparently the Saudi Pro League clubs are trying to hijack Manchester United's move for sporting director Paul Mitchell. I think that would be a shame, but would he really go to Saudi? He's a boyhood Manchester United fan. He's just moved back to Manchester. He was born in Manchester. I think he was born in Salford. Why would he choose to move to Saudi if he's got the offer of Manchester United? I'm not going to buy too much into it, to be honest. I think that, if Manchester United are serious about wanting him, then I think they'll get him. Whether or not he's the right person for the job, that's still up for debate. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section and in the live chat who would be your preferred director of football. I know at the moment it's a bit split between Ralph Rangnick and Paul Mitchell, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched the show this morning. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe, bottom right-hand corner before you go. I will be back live later on today. If anything breaks during the day, I always go live, so make sure you hit the notification bell. This has been Daily Red Devil. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you all a bit later.